Indian reservations are also another really important concept to understand. As the title suggests, they are reserved lands by the federal government for tribal communities. Indian reservations are quite large. For example, the 18 million square miles of the Navajo Indian Reservation, or they can be quite small to the several hundred acres of some Pueblo communities in New Mexico. Indian reservations have two subsets. There are tribal allotted reservations and there are general Indian reservations. Allotted reservations then further break down into two subsets: Indian allotted lands and tribal government allotted lands. The allotments were a result of the 1887 Allotment Act, in which Indian reservations were reduced significantly in size after a number of acres were provided to heads of household. Surplus Indian lands were then sold by the federal government's land departments to settlers. As such, it's important to note that when we speak about Indian reservations, we should be aware of something called the checkerboarded lands. As you can imagine, a checkerboard with the different colored squares, when we think about Indian reservation lands in allotted areas, land patterns sometimes resemble a checkerboard. The checkerboard is important to you because it signifies the different types of governmental authorities. You might have some lands that are state lands. You might have some lands that are private lands. You might have some lands that are federal Indian reservation trust lands, federal Indian reservation allotted lands. As such, when you think about the types of lands that are out there, there are going to be different governmental authorities, different types of legal considerations, as well as the historical developments related to how those lands became either Indian allotted lands, federal Indian trust lands, private lands, state lands, federal Indian reservation lands, such as the allotted lands, the Indian individual allotted lands, as well as the government allotted lands. You should also note there are federal reservations out there, such as Bureau of Land Management lands, National Park Service lands, and forest lands.